Tobagonians are now able to get involved in the democratic process of the island through a public help desk. Assistant Secretary in the Office of the Chief Secretary, Councillor Dion Isaac, explains in this week's Post-Executive Council media briefing.
The Office of the Chief Secretary has made an undertaking post-January 21st to the people of Tobago to introduce what is called a public interest desk in the interests of ensuring that the democratization process of governance in Tobago is fully ensured and fully ventilated. The public interest desk, Tobago have your say, have your perspective, your opinion, and your views. It's going to ensure that all Tobagonians, including yourselves, the media, have an opportunity to have your say and to put your perspective at the forefront of governance in Tobago. On a Tuesday would be our public day, and I also wish to announce that our telephone contact is 635-2165 and 635-1362. And for those technologically savvy individuals who wish to contact us via email, the email address is publicinterestdesk@tha.gov.tt.
Meantime, Chief Secretary Orville London congratulated all Carifta athletes, gave an update on the Dwight York Stadium, and dealt with issues that are of grave concern to him.
I first want to congratulate the Tobago athletes who would have participated in the Carifta Athletics Championships over the Easter weekend. We would have returned, or they would have returned to Tobago with 4 gold medals, exactly half of the total gold medal haul for the entire country. And I want to congratulate, of course, persons like Chelsea James, Young Wright, the long jump, under 17 long jump champion, and of course Mark London, who would have won gold in both the boys under 2,800 and 1,500 meters. I think what was also particularly significant is that every other member on the Tobago team, or in the Tobago contingent, would have achieved his or her personal best in his or her particular event. So even if the others did not win medals, they could return with some degree of satisfaction. I want to link that to the commitment of people like Wade and Gerard Franklin and Durley Lucas and all those individuals, coaches and other officials who would have contributed to the success of these athletes and their achievements over the years. We in the Tobago House of Assembly are intent on ensuring that we provide the environment in which this talent can be nurtured. And on that score, I was very heartened to get information from the Division of Education, Youth Affairs and Sport that the work on the Dwight York Stadium has started. The scheduled completion time is somewhere in the vicinity of 7 months. And at the end of that exercise, we should have a track that is internationally rated. Again, as you know, at one point in time, the Dwight York Stadium was the only internationally rated athletic track in the country. And we are expecting that the new track to be laid will be of an even higher quality. We still have some concerns, obviously, with the stadium itself. And my information is that an evaluation is being made and that sometime in May, we should be getting the results of that and be in a position to know what the cost is and how we go about meeting that cost. I want to put on record that to date, all the expenditure on the track has been borne by the Tobago House of Assembly, and based on our information, it is more than likely that the Tobago House of Assembly will have to bear the full cost of refurbishing the track. that is going to be in the vicinity of about close to $10 million. And of course, the refurbishing of the stadium itself will be quite a tidy sum. It has not been tabulated, and we're not in a position to know whether we can source the funding, but it is obvious that we cannot have a situation where we have a newly laid track, and of course the facilities are not at a level where the track, people can sit to view the tracks. Last Thursday, we would have debated in the House the issue of internal self-government for Tobago. And I want to place on public record once again my concern about the silence emanating from the central government on this issue after the Tobago House of Assembly election. Before the Tobago House of Assembly election, it was the major topic. In fact, one would believe that the Tobago House of Assembly election would have been fought primarily on this single issue. And before the election, I think all the parties had one thing in common, and that is a commitment to internal self-government for Tobago. There might have been debate as to how it should be done, but there was no debate about the what. And I find it quite disconcerting that despite various overtures made to the central government, in person and by written correspondence, we have got no indication from the central government that it intends to give any priority to this issue. And I want the people of Tobago to put themselves on notice that they have to do whatsoever is necessary to alert the central government to their concern and to elicit from the central government some kind of positive response. I would have written to the Minister of National Security on the 18th of March. And in my letter, I expressed my concern over the extended delay in convening the meeting between officials of the Ministry of National Security and the Tobago House of Assembly to discuss the security issues in Tobago. And I went on, ministers, you'd be aware, these meetings, which would normally be scheduled at least twice in any calendar year, provided a forum in which all the stakeholders were able to collaborate in the decision-making and implementation processes. It is instructive that no such meeting has been held since March the 14th, 2012. And in the meantime, there are a number of issues which require urgent attention, on which there is inadequate information from your ministry. And I requested an urgent meeting with him and his officials to discuss all relevant issues, including construction of police stations at Old Grange and Roxborough, increasing the number of officers in the Tobago Division of the Police Service, concerns over communication challenges, transportation needs, and the availability of essential equipment in the Tobago Division, plans to manage security in the unique Tobago environment, construction of fire services headquarters and fire stations in Tobago, security concerns at the Scarborough Port and the A&R Robinson Airport, adequate patrols and surveillance of other entry points to Tobago, traffic wardens, the role of the Defense Force in Tobago, and consistent disaggregation of crime statistics for Tobago and Trinidad. I am a little disheartened that so much attention is being paid, and we are being forced as the public to have so much of our time and energies consumed in debating what I think is a peripheral issue. I, of course, object very strongly to the whole question of the soldiers being given pause of arrest. But I do not believe that that is the critical issue, because whether they give them pause to arrest or not, that is not going to make a serious dent in the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago. And it is ironical that while so much attention is being paid to this particular issue, the question of the Ryan report, which was supposed to really treat with the fundamental challenges and make recommendations to which we may or may not agree, but at least allow a basis for the kind of discourse that must take place in the country if we are to treat with this issue. that this particular report is, as far as I'm concerned, placed on the back burner. And all our energies are now focused on this debate, which, regardless of how it ends, is not really going to make much of a difference in any case. And I'm really making an appeal to the powers that be, in this case the central government, to find ways and means, because I believe that personally that soldier being given powers of arrest is a lost cause. Even if they win it in Parliament, they've already lost it in the court of public opinion. And my recommendation is that let's forget that and let us deal with issues that can make a difference where crime fighting is concerned. And I believe that if we have a report put forward by a group of panelists who are supposed to be impartial, the focus can be on the recommendation and not on making political points, and not on getting tied up with the arithmetic of crime fighting when we should be dealing primarily with the sociology. So I want to make a personal appeal to let us start focusing on the RAND report and the recommendations coming out from that report and similar reports, so that we can start treating with those deep-seated social problems that cannot be fixed with any plaster approach. I think you all are aware that we've had some concerns expressed about those persons who requiring geriatric care, who were at a residence or at a accommodated, I should say, who are accommodated at Signal Hill in less than ideal conditions. And I'm very pleased to note that arrangements have been finalized for them to be moved. The facilities have been prepared. I looked at them myself. They're highly satisfactory. And those individuals should be moving to the old hospital venue, and that's a building. It was formerly the psychiatric ward on the opposite side of the general hospital building, the large hospital building. It has been upgraded, air conditioned, special beds, waiting rooms, etc. It's really a good facility and a vast improvement as to where they were, so that they should be moved within the next week. And I will give you the date when there will be a short opening. I think it's next Tuesday. Just before the band concert. There would be a short ceremony to signal the opening of that particular facility.
Joining the media briefing was Chief Administrator Dr. Ellis Burris to deal with an issue concerning the arrears of some 9,000 THA employees.
The daily paid workers in particular, about the arrears, because it seemed to be creating a certain level of discomfort among the workers. Against that background, I have done some investigation as pertaining to how soon we will receive the funding to pay the arrears for the daily paid workers in particular. I have discovered from the Ministry of Finance and Planning, or Finance and the Economy, that these arrears, funds for these arrears were not available at present, and that though we have made a request for the release of such funds, the arrangement for us to get those funds released would be after a midterm review, which is supposed to be completed by the middle of next month. So if funds are released by the middle of next month, it may take another few weeks or 2 or 3 weeks or so before we could actually deal with the payments, because there should be the movement of the money from the Ministry of Finance to the Tobago House of Assembly for such payments. So far, what we have done here at the Tobago House of Assembly, we have prepared all the pay sheets for the daily paid workers, and presently, some of them are being audited. So as soon as the funds are released from the Ministry of Finance, the Tobago House of Assembly will be ready to pay the daily paid workers. I hope that that will bring some level of comfort to the daily paid workers, as the circumstances cannot be done otherwise. We have to wait for the release of funds, because again the ministry had stated that when in the preparation of their allocations, they had only budgeted for 5% increase, but as you may have observed, that the increase was 9% to the daily paid workers. So therefore, against that background, additional funds are required to enable the daily paid workers to be paid the sum that is to be paid to them.
I want you to comment on the matter of internal self-government. And speaking earlier today, the chairman of the TOP said that you ought to, and I'm quoting directly from him, that you ought to apologize for ordering his political leader to reject full internal self-government right before the election, but has now made a sudden, blunt, reckless, and shameless U-turn by calling for its swift passage after he blew a golden opportunity.
You know, sometimes they say if you don't want to cry, you have to laugh. That is a very quite preposterous statement, but not surprising coming from the chairman. I mean, it's in keeping with the statements that you would have made in the past. I think all Tobagonians are aware of my position and the position of this administration with respect to internal self-government. And we have made it very clear, and that position still stands. We are not going to be taken in by labels and gimmickry. As far as we're concerned, internal self-government has to mean something. And therefore, we are not just interested in the label internal self-government, we're interested in the details of the internal self-government. And we will continue in that position. And what I'm asking from the central government is that they should reiterate their commitment to internal self-government, and then let us determine what kind of internal self-government we want. So that I find the statement quite preposterous, but not surprising.
We'd like to have an update as to the situation with Dr. Ansem Londa's appointment as consultant in the Division of Finance, please.
Well, let me just again indicate the process, because I think sometimes, you know, we tend to forget how this thing came about. You have a situation where a note comes to the Executive Council. The note is considered in the Executive Council, and then the Executive Council will make a decision as to whether that note should in fact be approved and confirmed. The note will have come, there will have been discussions, and at the end of those discussions, a decision was made to defer the note. In the meantime, we would have been getting from various persons, various experts, information as to how the thing should be done. The consensus at this point in time is that based on the kind of work which the Assembly has to do, based on the kind of issues with which we got to treat with, based on the kind of expectation that is existing in the minds of the Tobago public, it is evident that the Tobago House of Assembly would need additional expertise in order to carry out its duties and in order to perform its functions adequately. The question, of course, is how is that process best dealt with, so that we are now in a situation where we are in discussion with the various experts to determine how best it can be dealt with. In the meantime, the note will have been withdrawn, and we're going to be coming with a new note that treats with the process of ensuring that the Tobago House of Assembly has the capacity to access expertise as needed, so that we will be able to carry out our duties and functions. So basically, what we'll have been doing while all the time that the note was being deferred is that we'll have been in consultation with various individuals. Because I want you to understand that what is in the public domain now would never have come into the public domain, because notes come to the Executive Council all the time. Some are approved, some are deferred, some are withdrawn, but some are withdrawn and say, listen, let us do it differently. The only difference between this and those other notes is that in this case, the note was brought into the public domain before a final decision was made. But what has happened in this case is no different from what has happened on a number of occasions. But the point that I want to make is that we reiterate that in order for the Tobago House of Assembly to carry out its functions, it cannot do so except it is able to access expertise and information and services from outside of this assembly. And therefore what we treat in with when the new note comes back is a process whereby that can be done, taking into consideration all the concerns that might have been raised.
You said that the note has been withdrawn.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not deferred, it's withdrawn now.
Yes.
Right. So it's not that the Tobago House of Assembly is bowing to public pressure because the public is saying that Dr. Lundy's salary is too high.
No, because remember, as I told you, a decision was not made. And I want to reiterate that the reason why it was deferred even before it became public is because a number of the concerns which were raised in public were raised at the Executive Council. Remember, it is not a matter that the note was in the public domain and then it was deferred. You know. The note was deferred long before it got into the public domain. Because at that point in time, persons were raising issues as to whether, how can we do this in a manner that is not going to create problems one way or the other. So that a number of the concerns raised in the public domain, and I don't agree with all the concerns made, but a number of the concerns made were genuine concerns, which would have also been addressed at the Executive Council. But I think the fundamental reason for the note remains, and that is that the Tobago House of Assembly will always need consultancy services and would always need services not available within the Assembly. The question is, how best do you access those services?
So, Mr. London, can you give us a time frame as to when this matter would be dealt with?
I am hoping that within 2 weeks we should be able, because I think we have a fair idea now as to how it should be done, and I think within 2 weeks we should be able to come up with a note that treats with ensure, because the primary purpose is to allow for a situation where services can be accessed when needed.
Thank you for tuning in to another Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council media briefing for the week ending April 7th, 2013.